aka New York Harbor. I decided that the best way to do this would be to do a video because trying to do a slideshow of all of the things that are in the game, nah, too hard. Need a stupid number of those. But let's look here. I take a. This is a nice look at the island that Statue of Liberty is on, and it's actually reasonably close to real life. Because like even the fact that the real version has those odd like angular shapes along the shoreline, because like the shoreline is actually artificial. People built it up and built it to be that shape. There are a few things that are interesting because like there's the buildings with like the dock and stuff that's all gone, and the one in the game has this odd sandbar right here where one of the docks would be. And like the back half of it that has the buildings on it is just like a flat whatever. And of course, we have these spots here where there's vegetation on top of what should be man made architecture. Having vegetation along this path here, though, that actually makes sense. I was actually surprised at just how close these angles in the path around the perimeter of the island are to the real thing. That that's pretty good. The fact that the back half of it's a blank green void, well, that's probably because of the fact that you can't see it from this angle during actual gameplay, so no one would actually be able to see that. So why bother building stuff that players aren't going to be there for? Okay, so um, while we've established that the Statue of Liberty and Liberty Island itself look reasonably good, how are they in relation to the harbor? Well, let's take a look at the shape of the harbor itself. Yeah, the harbor is a relatively small part of this map. This the lower half of this map is actually Atlantic Ocean, and you have the a top part with the harbor in it. All right, let's click to another scale map. Here I marked on this map the location and facing of the Statue of Liberty with a green arrow to make it easier to see. Yeah, this thing on the right here near the shoreline, that's called Governor Island. And that is actually something that is kind of sort of in the approximate location of the prison that we have as the location that the convoy goes to. Is that intentional? I don't know. But like the main thing that you'll notice on this though is that the southern part of the harbor is all completely gone. They have that blocked off with a row of skyscrapers. Yeah. Let's take a look at that. It's like that is actually what I noted to be the main thing that's different. It's like here we have the Statue of Liberty, and we're facing approximately northwest. And then we have what is this going to the south is all of this stuff. Yeah, like having a dock on this shoreline. Yes, there are actually docks along this shoreline. Um, Also, one thing that's highly noteworthy here is that the scale is really, really compressed as far as I can tell. It's like it should be like a mile or two wide or something like that, and this is not. But this entire area here is actually the most geographically wrong. Like whatever the heck that dock thing is, no, doesn't exist. That's just something in the middle of the channel. And like there's several entire blocks of skyscrapers that are just Blocking what would be the channel. Now, one thing to note about this white void is that that's actually just there is no scenery or skyfile backdrop. The white void just means that there's nothing to see here. So it's not saying that the devs are setting that up to be an area that has water. No, 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 no. They just didn't program in any terrain. The white void is a lack of terrain. One thing that's interesting about these floating buildings is that from the perspective that you are playing the game, you can't see that they're floating. You just can't see the bases of the buildings at all. And okay, so this here. Looking here north. Let's take a look at map number 3. Okay. So, the area to the north, that is the Hudson River Channel. And it's actually in approximately the right spot. Yeah, as you can see on this map here. Ellis Island, they don't really have an approximation of Ellis Island at all. They just kind of like left that off of the map. But let's see, go back to the game. And like we can see that this shoreline here is, it's not exactly right, but it's like kind of sort of vaguely similar. Because like this right here is about where Ellis Island would be, and there's just nothing. This here, this like narrow point, that looks wrong. Mostly because the fact that it has this really, really large square point here, which could just be that because like one thing you can see from like looking at this a lot is that this is made out of building modules, and they just like copy pasted building modules. Like you can see this here. It's like this is a partial reconstruction of a photograph of the New York City skyline. And they just kind of like copy pasted it several places. Grab that building. Hey, it's the same one over here. That's actually just like a 2D art asset. And there's several of these other 2D art assets. Well, this is a 3D art asset that they kind of sort of did the same thing with. And just kind of like copy pasting it multiple times. And in this case, they copy pasted in a location you weren't likely to notice while playing the actual game. Where it's kind of sort of blocking the Hudson River. Now, the East River, because like this coastline shape here is actually surprisingly accurate. Like there's the Hudson River over there. The East River is the other side of this. And there's a randomly placed building in the middle of where the East River would be. Other than that, yeah, that part's reasonably okay. Again, though, there's the whole like void thing where they just kind of sort of didn't program in terrain. Like this area here, I'm not sure if all of this should be water, but they just kind of sort of made like, okay, this area is water. And it's just like a big block. Because like when you look at this here, this is the area that would presumably be Governor Island. They didn't actually build it all. Because like there's these prison tower things that are building modules that actually have interiors and stuff like that, but they're just copy pasted assets. And the stuff around them, well, this is something that you actually can see from in the game. Because like see where the character I used for viewing this is like you could just stand on this walkway here and just look out here, and like you see all of this stuff. You can't see on the other side of the wall though, because like the normal flight height is the same as the top of this wall, and this wall here is the same height about, so it makes it so that you can't see over the wall, and you can't fly more than about here, I think. That's like the limit that you could normally fly to. It's not that great. So you have all that stuff you can't see. I mean, some of these boats are actually interesting. Most of them are just the same old copy pasted assets. And hilariously, this appears to be the same asset as that, just rescaled to be smaller, which is interesting. You have this cargo ship thing here, which Seems to be copy pasted a few places as well. Oh, another thing that's interesting is that that's the New Jersey side of the harbor. So that's actually not New York City over there. That's New Jersey. And this area here being like relatively lowland area, there actually is a grassy part to that stuff there. And you can see that if you flip back to this picture. Yeah, see how low lying all of that area is. Also, you can see that there is something that's kind of sort of a bridge there. It's just that it's not a suspension bridge with cables. Anyways, though, but yeah, there's not really a whole lot to think about it. It says other than um that giant Alchemax tower is apparently in Brooklyn somewhere. Yeah, ESU, which there's the dome there. That's a big part of ESU, and there's several other buildings that are part of ESU. One, why is ESU so close to the prison? But two, yeah, that's all part of Brooklyn. Alrighty then. Well, that is that, I guess. See you guys later.